K-State Culturally is virtual programming centered on celebrating, uplifting, and educating the Wildcat community through the lens of communities of color who are affiliated and connected to Kansas State University.
Okay, so hey all you Wildcats, and welcome to K-State Culturally How-To segment, which is brought to you by K-State Alumni and BSU. And I'm Lati Horton, a May graduate of 2019. And we're here today with Jennifer Noisette, and she received her BS in Management Information Systems at Kansas State University in 1996. She now works as a foreign diplomat, and she's here today to tell us more about her job at the U.S. Consulate. So, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself, if I missed anything?
No, not a problem. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for the invitation, Lati. As you mentioned, my name is Jennifer Noisette. I am a U.S. diplomat when I'm overseas, a foreign service officer when I'm not doing my diplomatic work, because we do have some work that we do in Washington, D.C. And you were correct, I graduated in 1996, Kansas State University, and I'm happy to be here and hopefully tell you guys something interesting about my job and get more people into the Foreign Service and the State Department in general.
Okay. Well, can you tell us a little bit about your job and maybe the journey that it took for you to get there?
The journey to the Foreign Service can be different for a whole lot of people. There's a primary route that I think probably 70% of the people go, and then it breaks down differently along the way. Mine was quite different. I graduated, as you mentioned, with MIS. I came to the State Department primarily, or first, on a contract. I was a contractor doing systems work. And then I saw that the State Department is kind of cool. I didn't know what State Department was when I was in, Kansas. And my mom, she decided to move to the DC area, and I was like, let's see what it has. And State Department was it. So I started off doing systems work, and I was doing systems work at the different embassies and consulates around the world. And I was like, I didn't know this type of job existed. Coming from being a military brat, all I knew was military. So graduated Junction City High School, Fort Riley, went to Kansas State. So I didn't know this whole world out there existed, and I was just fascinated. So after several years, I became a civil service employee, primarily just working in Washington, D.C. And then after that, I was like, no, I like what we do in the embassies and representing the American people at the consulates and embassies around the world. So I said, I'm going that route instead. So I decided to join the Foreign Service.
Okay, I see. So you mentioned that like maybe 70% take a different route. What would that look like?
Most people, they come in, well, we have a lot of people that come in second career, third career, and some people come straight out of straight out of graduate school. And so I can't even say 70%. There's just different ways to come in. And that's what I like about it, the diversity of thought and the diversity of experiences. And hopefully through recruitment and retention programs that I'm hoping to partake in, we'll have more diversity in race, religion, gender, and so forth.
Okay, I see. So do you feel like there are any majors that are better suited for this field? I know yours was in like management. Do you feel like that helped or?
I think it might have helped just get my foot in the door as far as that contracting job itself. Yeah. But to the State Department, you can be any major and join the State Department. I actually know a few people who came in with bachelor's degrees, and it was something like literature or anthropology or engineering. And so it's very diverse, and that's why I like speaking to my different colleagues to know what they did before, what did they learn, because there is not one cookie cutter model.
So basically you don't feel like anyone has to maybe get a certain amount of credentials before they have to like apply or want to go into that field?
There are many programs that helps you prepare, because there's a test for the most part for you to get in the Foreign Service written exam. And then you have to go through the orals, as we call it, the oral examination, which somebody else can talk to you about later, like the details of getting into the Foreign Service. But it depends on what you know more so than what your degree is as to how you get into the Foreign Service.
Okay. Well, this kind of Would you recommend that people know like a foreign language, at least one?
It helps, but it's not a hindrance to not know a language, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So it definitely does help. It helps you look a little bit more competitive with your peers, to show that you have some international just leanings and understanding of what's going on in the world around you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Also, like, you mentioned that there like you would want more diversity in the field. What does it look like now, and like maybe who's the majority?
We do have majority white officers, and I'm speaking from the Foreign Service perspective at this point, because in the State Department, we have civil service, we have foreign service, we have contractors, we have interns, we have everybody there. In all cases, if not majority of the cases, yes, it is majority white. And in the foreign service specifically, there are more white officers. And I would like to see more Black, more Asian, more Native American. And that's what we are working on as a whole in the State Department, is to get to get us to look more like the United States.
I get what you're saying. Do you feel like there's a reason that there's not as much diversity? Like maybe it's not as advertised, maybe it's not a field that a lot of people know about. I don't know.
For me, in my opinion, yeah, I think it's because people don't know it's an option. It is a very, it's unknown if you're not already in the Washington area, or if you don't know somebody or related to somebody. It's not something that you're going to say, oh my goodness, I want to do this when I grow up. Especially in the 90s, because we didn't have the internet. We didn't, things were not as accessible. Information was not as accessible. So that's why we have a lot of diplomats we have a diplomat in residence program, where we have diplomats that are seated in universities to help with recruitment. And I think we are working on doing more. And this is one of the programs that I kind of partnered with, to just say, okay, what can I do to help the diplomats in readiness reach more college students?
So kind of going back to the foreign language bit, like if they know that you speak a language, would they like deploy you in certain areas? Like I speak Russian, so would they try to maybe work that out, or would it just be like one of those things like, oh, that's nice, you speak another language, like if it comes up maybe?
Initially, your first 2 tours, when you come into the Foreign Service as an entry or first or second tour officer, you are assigned. So they send you, it's almost like they send you where you are needed at the moment, and you may not be needed. There may not be an opening at that time for a Russian language specialist. So later on, after you do your first 2 tours, you get to kind of bid or pick on where you want to go. And if you decide to go to a Russian post, that would be great. And if you need to top off, like get more language because of, it's been a while since you spoke Russian, we do have a Foreign Service Institute, which is like a university for us, for diplomats. So this is where we get all of our languages. This is where we learn the nature of our job, things we need to do, our trade crafts.
Oh, that's interesting. Could you tell me like a little bit more about that? Because you don't hear a lot about maybe like while you're on the job still.
So Foreign Service Institute, FSI, as I call it, is in Arlington, Virginia. And it looks like a college campus. I love FSI. It's always so much fun to go there, because one, it's like a reunion. You see your friends from previous posts that are taking language. So this is where you see people just transiting through at all times. So at FSI, as I mentioned offline, I am Haitian American. So I came in with some French and some Haitian Creole. So I went to FSI to kind of top off, as we say, my French before I went to Algiers. So they teach you to a level of proficiencies for you to do your job, and they test you, and then they send you on your way. And I forgot the exact number of languages, but we have just about every language represented in FSI, in addition to whatever you need to learn to do your trade, to do your job.
That's actually super interesting.
So yeah, the Russian department, you will find the most obscure languages sometimes. If you need it to do your job, FSI will help you get there.
Well, you kind of mentioned being a military brat. Do you feel like it's kind of similar, and like maybe they'll post you somewhere and you move around a lot, or do you stay in places?
I think just being a military brat, an Army brat, prepared me, or made me appreciate moving from place to place. It's like, okay, I got used to just keep on going. I can't sit in DC for the next 20, 30, 40 years. So I think it prepared me for that. We usually stay at most posts for 2 to 3 years. There are some 1-year assignments, and there are times that you can extend if you choose to.
Oh, wow. So that's interesting. Do you feel like it affects your family, like moving around, like a bit?
I see it as a gift. We haven't talked about where I've lived, so let me just give you a rundown. So my first tour was Georgetown, Guyana, and then we did Algiers, Algeria. Then after that was Washington for a while. Then I went to Mumbai, India. Then I went to Port-au-Prince, Haiti. And then I am currently in Nuevo Laredo, Mexico. So with me, I travel with my 2 daughters because I'm a single mother of 2 girls. And I think it's a great education for them. They get to learn different cultures, different languages, and make friends along the way. For instance, my older daughter, she's 14.
Okay.
So let's see, she has learned a little bit of the Arabic dialect in Algeria. She's picked up a little bit of Hindi along the way, and she speaks the Haitian Creole, and she's picking up Spanish while we're here.
That is actually super nice. I feel like a lot of kids should have the opportunity to.
I think it's wonderful. It's not just the languages, it's the culture, because she's participated in L'Eid, the Muslim holiday, with our friends when we were in Algeria. She learned Bollywood dancing when we were in India. She did Haitian folklore dancing while we were in Haiti. And, we dealt with artists, and it was just wonderful. So, yeah.
Do you have any favorite memories, like, from some of the places?
Every place was awesome. Of course, I'm biased about Port-au-Prince, Haiti. I have never lived in Haiti. I was born in the United States. So it was an honor to be able to learn about my heritage on the job. So I ended up staying there longer than I've stayed anywhere else. I served in Haiti for 4 years. And it was just amazing for me to learn about where my parents came from, in addition to share that with my kids. So it was satisfying work-wise, in addition to personal reasons.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. So my next question was going to be more about like K-State and your college experiences. Do you feel like there's anything, maybe like experiences that you had in college or like college involvement that maybe prepared you a little bit for your job?
Actually, no. And I hate to say that. I wish that K-State did more. I remember, and I've spoken to others about this. I wish that K-State reached out to me more, and there were the programs that people let me know in my spaces that these opportunities were available, because there are opportunities for undergrad and graduate school students and even high school students within the State Department that just never came into my sphere, and it makes you wonder why. And I remember when I was civil service employee in the early 2000s, I actually called someone in the alumni office, and I asked, did you guys do any outreach for any type of internships and also study abroad programs? Because I didn't know this existed in the 90s until I came here, and they were like, yes, we did those. And I'm like, who do you advertise them to? Who's your target audience? Because it wasn't me. And that bothered me. So, and I'm hoping to do more to reach out to others so they don't feel that way.
What more would you want done to like maybe reach out? Because I do understand, like, to an extent, I do feel like, yeah, it could be better. And you don't always know about all the internships. And I know at least maybe now it's a little bit better, like through email, but people don't always
Technology has changed everything. But, having a type of conference or a meeting with the Black Student Union to discuss all of these, study abroad opportunities or internships. They exist, but was anybody talking to us?
Yeah, that's a good point. I just recently graduated, and I don't really recall anyone speaking a lot about study abroad, but I just so happened to get the email, and that's how I had gotten involved in it. But yeah, you're completely right. They probably should make more of an effort to.
And there was no email in 1996.
Yeah.
Everybody can have one.
You were looking like, I'm not sure how they would have done it.
But something. I mean, they could have reached out to the fraternities and sororities and just done anything a little bit more than what we've done.
I was like, even the advisors maybe could have like said something, because I don't know, my advisor was a little bit more hands off.
Exactly. And hopefully just the more outreach that we do with the universities, it will touch more people.
Is there anything you specifically want to do, like to help maybe like younger people get involved in your area?
I am totally open to mentoring and reviewing resumes or talking somebody through the process. And I can give you my email address and my information offline. If anybody's interested in communicating with me after this, I am here to help. I think the best way to start with that is recruitment and then retention. So hopefully I can help with the recruitment part right now. Because the job is awesome.
What's your favorite part about the job? But like maybe besides the traveling, because I feel like that's a given.
Oh, I like my work. So in the Foreign Service specifically, if you decide to be a generalist, you have to pick something that's called a cone. It's like a major. So you specialize in something. I specialize in consular work. So my responsibility is protecting U.S. citizens abroad, in addition to processing and ensuring immigration visas and immigration law is being followed, okay? The part about helping American citizens is just amazing. I've had to visit American citizens in prison to make sure that they are safe and that their rights are not being trampled because they are American citizen. Yes, you did something wrong, you were in jail, but are you being mistreated because you are an American citizen? So that's one of the things that we do. We do prison visits to make sure that the health and safety of the American citizens are taken care of. I've had to deal with American citizens who have found themselves in the hospital and need to figure out how to contact their family. And there have been so many cases where you're just touched and happy to help your countrymen, no matter who they are, Black, white, Asian American. You represent the US for them and you do what you can to make things happen.
I like that. That's an interesting way to put it, yeah. I feel like it's always interesting when you get to meet other Americans, like traveling. Like, I think because when I was traveling abroad, I met someone and they were from like Colorado. So I was like, oh, this is like real close to me. But
the US seems small. When you go overseas, you're like, oh, you're my neighbor, even though you're on the other side of the coast.
So it's super fun and interesting. Is there anything you'd want younger people to know maybe about your profession, like maybe to prepare themselves, anything, like any advice that you'd want to give them?
To me, it's just be curious. It's like you want to know, strive to know more about yourself, the world, your country. One of the things that I find very interesting since I joined the Foreign Service is I'm actually more interested in knowing the United States. I want to visit all the states because some of the people, when I'm interviewing them for visas, and they're like, oh, I'm going to XYZ. Have you been there before? And I'm like, no, but I should, you know? So it makes me appreciate my country quite a bit. In addition to that, and I am also open-minded to everybody else's cultures, and that's just been a wonderful experience.
That's interesting. Like, do you have any moments where you felt like you appreciated other people's cultures, but it made you kind of miss your own a little bit more?
I think mostly Christmas, like around the Christmas holiday season. There are some countries that don't celebrate Christmas because it's seen as a Christian religion. So if I'm in a Muslim country and I don't hear, carols in the store that I go to, I'm like, man. So I'm a little bit homesick. So what I started to do was overcompensate. So I played Christmas music, no matter where we are, the tree is there and we deck it all out, whether we're in a country that celebrates it or not.
Like, how did you feel like traveling sometimes in certain countries where maybe like Black people weren't as prevalent? Like, how does it feel traveling as a Black woman?
It can be challenging. Sometimes the thing that usually bothers me. People do not assume that I'm an American. I've had to deal with some issues, especially when I was in Algeria. Algeria is in North Africa, and there are not many people my color in the capital. So the assumption always was, even though, you know, I was the boss of my section, I was a section chief, and they were like, so where's your supervisor? We want to speak to the real American. Or I remember going out to dinner and they're like, so where are you from? Cameroon and blah, blah, blah. You know, I got so many places. I was like, the United States of America, you know, the same place that because at the time, was it Condoleezza Rice? I was like, the same place that the Black Secretary of State is from. So, yeah, it can be a challenge, but I'm up for it because I like to be where people don't expect me to be. Yes. And so this job definitely puts me there. I mean, I've met so many amazing people who, once they figure out who I am and what we do, they appreciate me regardless of my race, my background, or whatever. I remember I was on a work trip in Mexico ages ago, the first time, and this woman heard me speaking English, a little old lady. She was like, oh, you're an American. And she was just so happy to not speak Spanish for a bit, that she could speak English and she was an American. So you get that as well.
Well, do you feel like I know some people experience like a little bit of discrimination, but like maybe when I traveled, like I felt like people left me alone a lot. And I didn't mind because I just like to be by myself traveling anyway. But do you feel like maybe some places were harder than others, or do you feel like maybe sometimes you're just existing and it's not really that deep?
It can be a little bit of both based on the country. Like I can go to one country. I remember we went to Thailand for vacation, and when I was in India. And in Thailand, they all wanted to take a picture with my daughter because they thought she was the cutest little thing. She looks like a little baby doll that they've seen on television. So sometimes you're seen as a rock star. Sometimes you're seen in a negative connotation. And sometimes it's just curiosity. And sometimes people just don't care. So it just depends on the culture. It depends on the place. It depends on the moment.
Did you feel like this was an issue I had? When you would go to certain places, maybe it's harder for you to find like hair products or like places.
I actually, I went natural in 2012 before we went to India because I knew I was not going to be able to maintain a relaxer, and I wasn't going to find somebody to maintain a blowout where the temperature or the seasons are 6 months of monsoon season where I was going to live. So I was like, I'm not even going to fight it. So with the natural hair, I just learned how to take care of my hair myself for the most part. And I just come home for trims and do everything else myself. I make sure that we pack everything that we need for our body as well, because you're not going to find lotion everywhere you go.
That's true.
There are certain things that we need for the care and feeding of the Black body that are important. And I make sure that if I have to, dedicate one suitcase to it, I will do that.
So you pack a lot of hair product too.
I don't play.
I understand.
I have 2 girls and this head of hair. So we are prepared.
Yeah. I'm looking like, I felt like maybe sometimes people should probably travel with braids or something. But
I did that as well, especially when I did short trips. My favorite thing when I was in, especially Algeria, Algerians, they had free university for their countrymen, and they would offer scholarships to Africans in the sub-Saharan region. So I became connected with 2 girls from Uganda, twins who are at university in Algeria. And so I had my braiders. They were more than happy to come over and chat. And so they braided my hair. So you find a way. You will find somebody to hook you up wherever you are.
That's fair. It's always nice to see that people can help you out.
Indeed.
But I don't know. I feel like that's. Is your career anything like you expected it to be? Like maybe when you were in college, did you feel like this is where your life was going to be?
I had no idea. I just knew, I was like, okay, I'm graduating. I can't just get a business degree. I need something technical because it looks like technology's going somewhere in the 90s. So I was like, let me just add information systems to it and I'll do something computer. And then I came out here and I learned about the State Department and it was my wildest dreams. I was like, wow. I look at things and it's like, if I only knew earlier, not that I'm not happy where I am, I could have started a long time ago on this journey. Like since high school, I could have had my eye on that prize.
True. But do you feel like you have any advice for like people who maybe don't know where they're going? Because I feel like a lot of people think that even after you graduate college, like, oh, you have a plan and you know exactly what you're going to do. And that's not always the case.
That's definitely not the case. In all honesty, let me tell you this story, whether she edits it or not. So I graduated from Kansas State University with this degree, and I just thought it was going to be easy to find a job. It wasn't, especially looking through newspapers. I didn't have a car. I didn't know where I was. You know, I didn't know the area. And so I got a job at Enterprise Rent-A-Car. And I was like, this is weird. I'm doing rent-a-car work, and I have a degree. This is not what I had in mind. But what I did is that I talked to people, and I was like, oh, so what do you do? And da-da-da-da-da. And so that's kind of how I got connected. It was one of my customers, and he told me he was putting his BMW in the shop because he was on his way to Korea for his job. And I was like, what do you do? And he told me, and I kept my resume on hand, and I gave him my resume. I was like, hey, I do computer things. You know, I just graduated management information systems, and I'm looking for a job in my field. If you can pass this on to your supervisor, I would greatly appreciate it. And he did, and here I am.
So your advice is always be ready with the resume.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh man, that's interesting. You don't hear a lot of stories like that, honestly.
I should have said the company as well. So maybe I don't want anyone to get in trouble.
Oh, it should be fine, hopefully. But honestly, that's it's nice to hear because I always feel like a lot of people are like, I've known since I was 12 that I was going to be the district attorney, and I was not going to settle for anything less.
I had no idea, honey. I changed majors. I knew I was going to be a doctor or a lawyer. And then I was like, I don't like this. I don't know what I want to do. And I think also just being first generation American, I didn't have the resources. My parents were not born and raised here. They didn't go to college here. So I was figuring things out on my own. And eventually it clicked.
That's, yeah, I like that. That's interesting. It's a different story, but I was talking to you. Overall, this was helpful. I did like hearing a lot of the experiences you had.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess we'll wrap it up. And basically, it was nice that you took the time out to tell us a little bit more about yourself and your job. And I appreciate you coming out today. Basically, if you're interested in seeing any more K-State Culturallys, be sure to check out K-State MAC on Facebook. So K-State MAC.
Thank you so much, Lati.
Thanks too.
Bye.